Hi, everyone. It's Margaret Manning here with lifeafterdeath.com. Lifeafterdeath.com is a community for people who want to learn more about the questions related to the afterlife, near a death experience, and all these topics of spirituality, dealing with their own concerns and fears of death. And we bring in experts who have experience in a certain area to talk about this topic. And my guest today is Annie Mattingley. Now, Annie is a writer and a speaker. She is what do you call yourself? An after-death communication researcher. And she has been a hospice volunteer because she experienced the deaths of both of her parents. But it wasn't until her daughter, Randy, committed suicide in 2010 when her whole life was transformed. Her story is really quite remarkable, and I'm so happy to have her here to talk about that and how it changed her life. So welcome, Annie. It's lovely to have you. Thank you.
I'm glad to be here, Margaret. Thank you.
You know, we've done a few other talks tonight on different topics, but this one in particular I know is in your heart and the one that maybe changed your life the most. Tell us a little bit about the situation and then talk about the lessons that you learned from that experience and how it changed your life.
Well, the situation was that my daughter was deeply depressed. She had much physical pain, and she was very troubled. And after a year and a half almost of family hell, you'd have to say, she took her own life. And there aren't words to describe how difficult that was for me. And possibly the very first thing that I've discovered, or over time anyway, was that I could survive anything. After surviving that and thriving, not just surviving, but I feel that I'm thriving. I know that whatever life throws at me, I can take it.
That's it. But, I think the gift of what she gave you probably assisted with that and helped with that.
Absolutely.
And there must be, I know in our community and other groups I'm involved in that there are so many women who have had such difficult situations, and mothers, your own children are so connected to you. It's like part of yourself dying. But she gave you a gift. So tell us about that.
Well, the gift was that a few weeks after she died, one morning, I was awakened by sensations in my body that were completely confusing, and I didn't want to pay attention to them. I just put the pillow over my head.
Yeah, you do.
But she was very forceful. It was like a river of energy coming from my feet up to my head, and I sat up, and I said, "Is that you, Randy? Is that you?" And I looked around. I said, "Do something, move." It's you. I don't know what I was expecting, but something. And I didn't get anything moved. But what I got was the gift of her voice.
Oh, my goodness.
She said, "I'm saying I want to know." And she says, "Your body knows." And my body did know. My body recognized her voice. My body felt her energy in it. And it was the most relieving experience that I could possibly imagine.
Oh, all that grief just goes when you know she's okay. Well, what did she actually say? Would you share some of it, or is it pretty personal?
Yeah, we began very quickly to have regular conversations each morning, and she was like, I called it like having a guru in my pocket, because she was wise. Suddenly this miserably unhappy woman was a wise being who said many things to me. I was very worried that I might be interfering with whatever she needed to do where she was. I didn't want to be a clinging mother who was just holding her down here, bring her to earth. And when I asked her about that, she said, "Mom, you don't understand." She said, "We don't have those restrictions here." She said, "I can be with you, and with my sister, and with my daughter, and doing my own work all at the same time. The limitations those are human limitations," she said. So those were the kinds of things that she gifted me with, an understanding of the fact that reality where she is completely different from our reality.
Yeah.
She didn't explain it. She didn't describe it to me. She didn't tell me what was going on, but she told me things of that nature that the rules are different. It doesn't function.
That's
the way
a very big lesson, actually, that we live in a bounded world here in our bodies, and there's possibilities of so much more. You mentioned that she was with her daughter and her other people. Did she ever talk to anyone else that you know of? Did you tell them about this?
Well, she did something very interesting, which I didn't quite identify at first for what I've come to see it as now, because over the course of a couple of years, while I was grieving and I was also interviewing people for the book and writing the book,
right.
She came to a number of people, but all in different ways. She came as a butterfly to her granddaughter, my granddaughter, her daughter, and she came as a hawk, and she came in synchronous experiences for my granddaughter. She came in a very, very, very powerful vision to my former husband, her father. She came in two extraordinary dreams to my husband, her stepfather, and she showed up in another synchronous way for her sister, and she came in just you'd have to just call it a knowing to a friend she had not seen in many years, who was so overcome by the power of this that she looked online and checked and found everything until she found my daughter's obituary.
She didn't know that she had died.
She didn't know. She hadn't seen it in years.
Wow.
And so through that, she connected with me. And through that, we were able to restore to our possession some memorabilia from Randy's high school and some photographs that she had and didn't, they were just stuffed in some place. She
lives on in that way, and in the memories and the things that she did. What a beautiful story that is. But what would you say were the three things that you learned about yourself, and how did that change your life? Well,
I learned that death is not the end. That it's not the end. It's not the end of existence, for sure. I knew this, quote unquote, before, but now I really know it.
Yes, you
so
really
I'm not afraid of it.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid. I don't want to die. I love being alive, but I am not afraid to die. And so that's probably the primary thing. And then I learned that death does not end a relationship. It doesn't end it. We can continue to heal. We can continue to connect.
Yes.
We have lost a certain very important quality. It hasn't ended the grieving for the physical being of this person, and certainly not for her. I can still cry 8 years later. But I also know that she and I are still deeply connected, and therefore I know that we're all deeply connected. And I know that we can heal things I know this as partly from our relationship and partly from the people I interviewed, that if there's unfinished business, you can fix it. Just because someone has died does not mean you can't resolve what has been not finished.
That's very powerful, especially when someone takes their life like that, because you blame yourself, you just don't know. I mean, in your case, it sounds like she had given some warning and she was not well. And I think moms know this. I mean, they know when their children are not well. But it also sounds as she taught you how to love the things you've got in this life, to actually make sure that you treasure your granddaughter, treasure the friends that you have. And I mean,
speaking of the blame and guilt, which are probably one of the biggest legacies, it can come with any death, but especially with suicide.
Right.
She taught me that it was not my responsibility, that this was her choice. This is what she did, and I could suffer from that, but I shouldn't take it on as mine. And it's a difficult lesson for a mother. We start out holding them in our arms and protecting them totally. They cannot live without our protection. And over time, we have to let go of that. She was 47 when she died, and it's a process of letting go, letting them live their own lives.
Yeah.
And this is the hardest letting go that I ever had to do, letting go of responsibility.
Yes, yeah. No,
For
it's really a very common thing that you just said there, to protect your kids, not just protect your children, but it's your parents too, and you went through that experience with them. But this is, I mean, I really appreciate you sharing. I know how, this must be very, very painful for you, but here's the thing. It drove you to do something, to write this book, The Death Chronicles, After Death Chronicles, where you helped other people to realize it's not that weird for these connections to happen. And now all the people that read that have been just recently bereaved can have a go at just connecting and,
Right.
just put a little altar together, or light a candle, or just don't have to believe anything. They don't have to, it's just a matter of, like, even just the things you said, like, you're not responsible. You've done all that you can. No need to feel guilt. Love the people that you're with. That's not even attached to any connection. You just are sharing. I'm just telling you how thankful people are for you, Annie. This is important.
I'm thankful for all of them. It's been a circular process, a gift that I received through this painful event in my life and from my daughter, and then I've been able to give back, and then people give back to me because
wonderful.
It's absolutely marvelous.
Now, you do workshops, don't you, as well?
I do.
Tell me about those.
Well, often there is a variety, and I'm actually working on one right now that's I'm meeting with my collaborator on Saturday that we're going to do in Taos, New Mexico in the spring. We don't even have the date set yet, yeah. Which will incorporate some of the things we've talked about, how to create an intention and an altar. We will write letters. We will probably do some kind of art project, because not everyone is so comfortable as I am with writing, and they create. For instance, I once saw a woman, I can't think of her name right now, who would have you do a doorway with paper, create a doorway, and you can think of that doorway as the place through which you can connect with your beloved.
Again, it's ritual. There's a ritual of symbols.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. The ways to make this connection happen are so innumerable. So whatever sings for a particular person, and so we don't know everything we're going to do in this, but my workshops are for the purpose of helping people to understand that this person still exists, and connection is possible, and healing is possible, and death is not an end.
It's a wonderful message, Annie. Thank you again for being here. I encourage people to check out your website, anniemattingley.com, and just stay in touch with you, because and people that live in the States and live in New Mexico, you're going to have things local. And I think you're living in New Mexico now, right? Is that right?
Yes, in Santa Fe.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, thank you again for being here. I'm just so happy to share you with our Life After Death community, and we'll talk again soon. But thank you again, Annie.
You're most welcome.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our Life After Death YouTube channel and visit our website at lifeafterdeath.com. We are a community of people who are fascinated by the topic of life after death and subjects like near-death experience, the afterlife, reincarnation, and spirituality. Together, we are exploring and discovering these topics together with curiosity and an open heart.